The QMSR became effective February 2nd, 2026. What is it, and what does it mean for U.S. medical device startups? Let's break this down. Getting a medical device to market involves a few distinct regulatory and quality activities. It can be a challenge to understand how and when these requirements actually impact your project. Does it help that the FDA is changing the regulations under our feet even as we speak? Well, not exactly, but the changes are doable and represent a real improvement in international alignment. So let's try to wrap our heads around this. So first, to be clear, there are at least 3 different regulatory and quality activities that a medical device project encounters on the road to market. FDA market clearance, for example, through a 510(k), registration and listing with the FDA, and ongoing compliance with quality system requirements and general controls. These are all different things, but notice I didn't say unrelated, just different. Registration and listing is actually pretty simple. You need to do it within 30 days of the first sale of your device. These days, the fee is roughly $10,000 per year. Market clearance through a 510(k), a de novo, or a PMA is a different animal. Unless you're exempt, the actual costs and timelines range from hundreds of thousands of dollars and 6 months or more of waiting to tens of millions of dollars and 6 or more years. Now, in an oversimplified way of thinking, you might assume you get your market clearance, you register and list, and then you worry about ongoing quality systems compliance while waiting for your first FDA audit. Is that wrong? Well, not entirely, but kind of. How do you know what to submit to the FDA in the first place? How do you know your information is good enough? It's true that later stage quality activities can be pushed a little bit later in the process. But we encounter this all the time, that companies that think they're within weeks of an FDA submission find out that they've never heard of design controls, or they never really knew what that process entails. But the design control process, and that's part of both the old 820 as well as the new 1345, is absolutely critical. It's the paper trail of your engineering, and it's actually the process by which you know that you're done with the process. So here's where what might be a massive regulatory change turns out not to be that big of a deal for your workflow. The design control process was formally defined under 21 CFR 820, but now 21 CFR 820 incorporates by reference ISO 13485 2016. And fortunately, the design control requirements under both are very similar. For example, the old 820 used to strictly require an independent reviewer at design reviews, someone not directly responsible for the design stage being reviewed. ISO 1345 is similar, but actually a bit more flexible here, focusing on representative participation. On the flip side, ISO 1345 is more explicit about the tie-ins to other standards, like ISO 14971 for risk analysis. Of course, we used ISO 14971 before, but because of the direct incorporation, don't expect to do less risk analysis than before. If anything, you might do more with it being more explicitly defined. Some terminology has shifted and your documentation should reflect that. For example, the design history file, or the DHF, is now called a design and development file, or DDF. The device master record, or DMR, is now called a medical device file, or MDF. So I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same. But back to the earlier point. While general quality system compliance can feel like a later stage activity, and sometimes that's true, design controls hit early. You cannot wait until you're done with the device to start your design controls. You have to document the journey as it happens, and it will inform your submission to FDA. As a result, while much of the fine print in the 1345 transition might not affect your seed stage project, the design control aspects do need to come first. One last question that always comes up. Do you now need an official ISO 1345 certificate from a notified body? Actually, more good news here. No, the FDA still performs its own inspections. You don't need to hire a third party to certify your system to sell in the US. You just need to ensure that when the FDA knocks on your door, your system complies with the 1345 standard they've now adopted. So overall, the 1345 incorporation by reference appears to be a good thing. because now companies only have to comply with one quality management system standard for both the US and the EU. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out our other videos on a number of medical device topics.